And good afternoon from an undisclosed location. This is PFG Live. And talk about a lash up. I'm sitting in the truck somewhere in the great state of New Hampshire. And yes, DBX, I'm recording locally. I'm recording audio, and I'm recording the audio and video. Nothing goes to waste. We use every part of the chicken. NYC CNC. Good afternoon. I see that you now hear me, and I'm not sure if you're more to be pitied than envied. Art that makes art. Wes, hi, how are you? CJ Stevens, welcome aboard, sir. I will give the first weather report here in somewhere in New Hampshire. It is about 80 degrees out, and it's very comfortable in the truck because I have the air conditioning running. Beautiful day. It is, I'll call it partly cloudy. And how are you guys doing today? If you're just joining us and you've never been to a PFG Live before, usually this is in the office, in the studio, and we have outstanding bandwidth. So what I've done today is I've turned down the video resolution. We are hotspotting through an iPhone, and we are still dropping frames left and right. So it probably looks pretty horrible. So you can give me an audio report and a video report separately. Hey, there he is, Shade and HKW. How are you, Stan? Nice to see you. CJ Stevens reports 66 and rainy in the east of the Tennessee. You guys, if you guys want to have a little chat there, on your own, and we'll just watch. Go ahead. Bad antenna. So, the only choice I had was hotspotting through cellular at this location, and of course, due to prior preparation, that's all we got. So that's what we're using. I'm really curious what the video looks like. I probably have much lower latency on Discord. Video and audio chunky. I apologize. I'm very sorry. DBX reports in Rockland County, New York, 84 degrees, but a bit muggy. The AQI is 103. That's air quality index, if you're not paying attention. Our friends in New York got clobbered by this last thing. So I'm doing my best. I don't think I can turn down the bit rate without restarting the stream. So we're just going to roll with it and see what happens. The podcast, however, will have excellent audio because I'm recording it completely separately on our Zoom audio recorder. Anyway, here we are. Stan, nice to see you check in, and John, nice to see you check in. How's MoMA? We need a dog report. That should be a new feature. So, in the interest of full disclosure, oh, here we go. K-Bonk is reporting 88 and mostly sunny in the Philadelphia. No maple smoke or fog. Plenty of herbs in the streets, I am sure, seeing as it's Philadelphia. Chipload, welcome aboard, sir. Hey, Stan, can we get a weather report at your location? I'm sure it's. Let me guess. Hang on. 82 and sunny. I'm going to guess 82 and sunny. Sitting. Oh, you're sitting next to MoMA. I've got this silly symbol on my screen for the chat. Let's see if I can pop out the chat and make it bigger. There we go. Well, say hi to MoMA. Okay, so we're going to roll with it here and see what happens. So the current setup is iPhone is a hotspot. That's all it's doing. I've got a MacBook Air, MacBook Pro Air, which is doing OBS. It's literally sitting on 2 ice packs. And then I've got an iPad running on batteries over here. and that is my Discord chat. So if you're in Discord, I will see you. Really? Stan reports 68 and overcast and drizzly. What? In the southern of the California. Fantastic. Okay, we did it. We got through the first 5 minutes. So, brief recap on the week. We started the week messing with the bamboo. We had Robin Renzetti and we had Bill Schonger on last time to talk about their experiences with the bamboo and what they know about it, and that was pretty spectacular. So if you haven't seen that, go back and watch that video. It's pretty neat. So today we're going to give you a bamboo update. We're going to give you a Ford F-150 Lightning update because we just crossed 5,000 miles. In fact, we're at 5,212 miles. So I'm going to give the 5,000 mile update as promised. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about the pin project and trying to get things to grind in a very unfavorable setup. So we'll see what happens. But today, all you got is me, and unfortunately, we don't have the chat window here because I couldn't set that up. But it will be in the YouTube video, the YouTube chat as usual goes along with it. So let's start with let's get the Ford update out of the way. 5,000 miles in the F-150 Lightning. First truck for me, first EV for me. Some growing pains to figure it out, but actually an overall extremely positive experience. Everything that is inside the skin of the truck is working wonderfully. I can make some arguments about some of the software running on the computer in the truck, but performance, comfort, all the amenities, power on the road, handling on the road, hauling capability, all been fantastic, 100%. Yes, and there was a Ford update. I just got an update yesterday. So updates are flowing, and that's all good. So the overall truck experience has been fantastic. Plugging in at home now. We'll talk about the charger in a minute. I have a few things to say about that. Plugging it at home. Wake up the next day. It's at fully charged. I charge to 90%. I don't go to 100% every day. I went to 100% today because I knew I would be here burning battery talking to you. But really has been a wonderful experience. The only squawks in the truck itself were, I have the 3-fold hard to know cover, and it has a bunch of rubber bumpers in it, and all of those bumpers are falling off. So whoever the subcontractor was that made that for Ford used some crappy adhesive. It's certainly not 3M VHB, I'll tell you that right now, and they're falling off. So rather than like fix it myself, which of course all of us would, we're all capable of fixing it ourselves, I did call my guy at Ford, and they're they're taking care of me, but that hasn't been fixed yet. That's not much of a squawk, right? What else? Boy, howdy, everything else has been great. Let's see. The Pro Charger I want to talk about. But before I do that, I'll give you another positive. We did our first towing yesterday. Friday. So my buddy Dan moved. That's the photo that you saw on Instagram. And I hooked up my trailer for the first time, took it on the road. I used to tow it with the Flex, and it towed like a dream. It was awesome. Plus, I've got the Pro Trailer feature calibrated and sorted out, and it'll. Now I'm used to backing a trailer, but still, it is a joy to use in backing the trailer. So the towing, check the towing experience has been absolutely excellent. To give you some numbers, I typically run 2.2 to 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. That's kind of like MPG for you gas guzzlers. And with the trailer on, it was 1.3, I believe, miles per kilowatt hour. So not half, but close to half. Hey, Joel's here. Welcome aboard. 86 in Chandler, Arizona. Thank you, Joel. So yeah, big positives on the truck. So now, and of course, if you guys have any questions or comments, put them in the chat, which some of you are doing, or I'm also monitoring the Discord general chat. So the tall pole in the tent right now is the Pro Charger. So we got that installed a couple of weeks ago, and that went very well. I have a great electrician, and we did it right according to Hoyle. AWG number 3 wire, 1.25 inch conduit. I kind of wish Stan was here. And it's mounted on the outside of the house, and it's convenient, and it's all great. However, there's software in the charger itself, and it wants to hang on the network. Well, getting that thing on the network and figuring out how to get it configured so that I can access it through the app, the Ford Pass app, complete disaster. So now not only isn't it configured, but when I tried to reset it, I went to reset it to factory settings, and I followed the wisdom I found. There's a factory reset button on the PC board. Nothing doing. So I stopped, and I again went to my Ford guy, and we're working that out. Kind of a stumbling block. Does it hurt how I operate the vehicle? No. It just acts as a dumb 80 amp charger. It could be acting as a very smart charger, because sometimes I want to tell it, I want you to charge, but I only want you to charge at 40 amps. And you can do that if things work. Right now, they ain't working. So, again, that's why I brought up the, everything on the inside of the skin of the truck is working great. But that charger is giving me some trouble. Let's see. Joel says my 1999 Lightning gets 10 miles per gallon. I believe that. I had a Chevy Caprice Classic that got 10 miles a gallon when I was towing my glider trailer. Regardless of how hard you pound on it, and you still spend more on tires than gas every year. That's awesome. Well, the monetary impact of this EV will come later when we have more months over which to compile data, but we're tracking everything. So that's the negatives on the Lightning. Would I recommend it? Yeah, it's really cool. Really enjoying it. The range calculations that the truck gives you are taking into account everything. So if you're towing, it characterizes your trailer. It knows when your trailer is hooked up, and you can tell it, if it doesn't automatically do it. And it will give you accurate ranges. It's amazing. So, yeah, big win. Big win. So if anybody's thinking about going that way and was worried about the whole EV thing, I don't think it's a problem. And the truck is a nice truck as a truck, and I'm learning how to use it. So that's the update on the Ford Lightning. I'm sitting in it. Very, very pleasant to own and operate. So if you have any Ford questions or Lightning questions, pop them in the chat, because we're going to change direction here in a minute. But that's been going great. Somebody just joined the server. Let's see. I'll send you a welcome message. There we go. So, moving on to 3D printing, I am happy to report that the Bamboo X1 Carbon is working spectacularly. I spent an inordinate amount of time tuning up my PETG recipe. So if you're not familiar with 3D printing, generally baby's first filament is PLA. PLA is very easy to print with because it has a very steep curve. Some solid state material guys will have a better word for this, but essentially the liquid to solid transition is very steep with PLA, whereas versus temperature, whereas with PETG it's a little bit of a slope, and it's a little bit ends up being a stringier material, etc. So here I am with my red PETG, which I use for the trays for the PFG Stones. Where is it? It's over there. There it is. Brought to you by PFGStones.com. And I spent a ridiculous amount of time trying to get it tuned up, and then one day light dawned on Marblehead, and it's like, you didn't bake your filament. You didn't dry your filament. I was the huge proponent of drying filament, and I completely spaced it. So I took every single roll of PETG that I had, and I went to the shop, and I've got this nice big low temperature oven now, and I cooked it all, 150 F, 2 to 4 hours. And I have to tell you, it was like throwing a switch. It was night and day. Everything started printing. And I switched back to the Bamboo generic PETG profile. Everything printed like a champ. I tried layer heights from their coarse is 0.28 down to their almost their finest, 0.16. Everything was totally solid. So the lesson there was that I made a mistake in not starting with a known variable, right? Dry, proper filament. But I think, unfortunately, 90% of 3D printing is done with filament that needs drying. I firmly believe that if everybody dried their filament before they printed, 80% of the conversation about tuning things and, oh, this doesn't work and that doesn't work, would just go away. So if I had to put a new t-shirt on today, it would be dry your filament. And getting that lab oven in the shop, which, by the way, I got it a couple of years ago and pressed it into service finally just before this all happened, was a great thing because it got me out of the kitchen. I have a really nice electric oven that's very accurate, but it also makes food. So sometimes I get in the way. Yeah, I did the calibration cube. I do the 20, really boring model. My friend Unix Carbide would be yelling at me right now because he has a really cool little calibration toy. But I just did the 20 millimeter cube, and I use that as my standard. I also did the benchy, but I didn't do the benchy in PETG. And it was spectacular. Spectacular. Robin reported that his Bamboo was printing some little plates that he was making under a thou. He was holding under a thou, which was amazing. So yeah, very happy with it. So if you have any questions about your filament or your process, look at the filament. And here's the other thing I absolutely positively proved. You get a roll of filament from the manufacturer. It's vacuum packed in a foil-lined package. It's got a desiccant pack built into it. You open it up and the air goes psss, and the vacuum was solid, and you take that thing out and you say, I'm good to go, and you throw it in the printer. Wrong. I have proven that drying that roll of filament fresh from the factory is absolutely an improvement. It is not dry. And my theory is that in the factory they make this filament and it goes on a spool of 27,000 feet of filament, and then they later spool it off into your 1 kilogram spools. We don't know what happened, how long it sat there, and I got news for you. It's not sitting in a vacuum chamber while it's on that high capacity spool waiting to be sorted out into the 1 kilogram spools for shipping. So my theory is that that filament is already wet. Then they put it in a vacuum packed container, throw in a little desiccant pack this big, and that does nothing. So strongly recommend you try it. You'll be a believer. It was fantastic. So drying was just a huge win. So you also may recall that I talked about the fact that I had a bent bracket in the bamboo. So if you imagine the bamboo, it's got 3-point support of the table of the build platform. Can we have a moment of respect for kinematic support? One in the back. There's one screw in the back, 2 screws in the front, and at the top of each of them there is a bearing holder supporting the top of the screw. Well, my left-hand side bearing was tilted over, and I didn't know why. I posted a photo of it, and several people pointed it out that the bracket it was mounted on was bent. And then when I started actually looking at it, I'm like, holy cow, it is bent. So on the 4th of June, okay, I submitted a ticket. I think I posted about this. And I submitted a ticket. I posted to the Discord server that Bamboo maintains. And I also posted on Instagram. On June 8th, Joel asks a question. He says, good to know that even fresh spools need drying. Yes. This whole PETG stringing story may explain all of my expertise with PETG. I don't have room for a lab oven. Any suggestions? Use your kitchen oven, okay? I don't know that I'd use a gas oven, but an electric oven, absolutely. 150F. Check it with a thermometer, make sure it doesn't overshoot. But 150F, even 2 hours, the difference will be remarkable. Okay, if you can go 4 hours, you have a total reset. That's my recommendation. So I submitted a ticket via the normal channels with Bamboo, and nothing happened for 4 days. And I was starting to get, these guys, they're taking forever. Well, on the 8th, which was, what was that, Friday? Thereabouts. I got an email from Bamboo, and they said, we're terribly sorry about this. We'd like to give you a new machine. It's not bad. Good response. You can send that one back, and then we'll send a new one, or we'll send you a new one and send you an invoice, and then we'll credit you when we get your old machine back. And that's what I opted for. So there's actually a replacement machine coming. And I thought that they responded really well. And I think the 4-day delay, you could probably attribute that to the volume of business they're dealing with right now. I'll forgive them. I guess I'll forgive them because the printer is working even with the bent bracket. I guess if it was like dead in the water, I might be a little more upset. K-Bonk says, I picked up a convection toaster oven in a flea market for $5 hairs. That's If you could fit a spool of filament in there, and it can hold 150F, you're all set. By the way, the 150F number is for PETG. It's 120F for PLA. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, you don't have to dry PLA. Yes, you do. So to wrap up the support ticket story for Bamboo, we're doing that. So a new printer is coming. I'll do the swap, and I'm very interested to see how this whole process goes, and I will report. But I'm pleased. I think it's a good thing. And then I have a confession to make. I bought a second one. So I think before the replacement for number 1 comes, number 2 will be here. So I will have 2 printers. That's where I want to land for a while. It has been just spectacular. I need a tray. You know, my spreadsheet tells me I need to make trays. Go downstairs, hit the button. I now have all my tray files living on the printer. I say, yeah, make me a tray, and I go upstairs. I literally start it, walk away, and it comes out perfect every time. Very pleased. I shouldn't say perfect. I would say 99% perfect. How's that? Yeah, Joel, you can absolutely hack a cheap toaster oven if you want to. That would absolutely work with a PID controller. Anyway, so that's the story on the replacement, the ticket, and the fact that I ordered a second one. So my farm will be 2 Prusas. I donated it's number 1 Prusa I donated to the high school. 2 and 3 are still sitting there. We'll see how long that lasts, but they've done some good work. Also, in the 3D printing department, I found I published this on Instagram, and I also put the links in my links page, which is PFG.GG/links. And there's a model for a desiccant container, which was just a brilliant design. And the Prusas have been busy using up the Prusa silver PLA that I had, making these desiccant containers. But also, the brilliant designer of the desiccant container, see the links page, designed it for both a cap that has slots in it or a cap that could take this inexpensive hygrometer, which is available from Amazon. And it's like 3 of them for $15 or $16, and they work. They're beautiful. Okay, so these snap into this this lid. So you have your desiccant, you have the hygrometer part of the cap, and that whole thing slides into the center of the spool. So I'm going to have about a dozen of those. And that whole thing goes into my Sterilite container, which holds 1 spool. Everything's going to stay dry, and you look down, you monitor it, you know if your desiccant is working. I think this is going to work out just fantastically well. No more excuses. Even I was making excuses of, well, I don't want to dry the filament. It's a pain in the neck. Blah, blah, blah. So the next change that I'm making is I've been using Overture PETG, which comes on the cardboard spools. I discovered the adapter rings to snap on the cardboard spools to make it run properly in the AMS. I think I'm going to use up what I have, and then I'm going to switch to either eSun, which I've tested. This past week I tested the eSun PETG. Worked great after drying. And I just ordered one spool of Sunlu PETG. Same thing, we'll qualify that. But they come on the traditional plastic spools, which go right in the AMS. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Now, the Sunlu intrigues me because their spool design is relatively minimal plastic, whereas the eSun design, I don't know why they went back to this, is this chunky, solid side black plastic spools, which has too much plastic in it, which is ironic, I know. But anyway, so I'll report on the Sun Loop. But as of now, the bamboo, even with its bent bracket, is a tool. I go downstairs, I push the button, and the tool makes what I want it to make, and we're done. No futzing around, no standing around waiting to clean the nozzle at the right temperature before the print starts, no grabbing the little schmutz off the nozzle like I have to do with the Prusas. It just works. Joel says, will the hygrometer, you said hydrometer, but it's hygrometer, be measuring the state of the desiccant and not the whole sterilite container? Eventually it hits equilibrium, right? And that's the other thing, is those measurements are slow. So I would give it 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours before it's stabilized, and I'm seeing numbers of 10 to 14% relative humidity once it stabilizes, and the room relative humidity is around 45% to 50%. Wes says, I'm having problems with mine this morning. Half of the presets in studio are gone, and I can't figure out how to print PETG. Okay, that's weird. I don't think I could help you with that shooting from the hip. I don't know why the presets... Oh, I do know why. There is a place in preferences where you could select which filaments are sucked into all of the presets, and you might have turned them off. And I would go in and just say select all. Look for that. It should be in, again, I'm not in front of it, settings or preferences or something like that. Okay? But PETG should be generic PETG profile, step 1. Dry filament, step 2. Print, step 3. So I hope that helps. Let's see. I think I covered everything. It's a tool now. So John, I know you showed up to hear this. You told me so, and you were correct. It is the closest thing to a, and Robin was all about this also. It's the closest thing to a just use it tool that we've ever seen in 3D printing. Full stop, end of story. So why, on a podcast / live video where we usually talk about machining, why are we spending so much time on this? Because it's a machine, and now it's useful. And I'm cranking out tools for the shop. I'm cranking out my product that I sell, and I'm very satisfied with it. Let's see. So that's the bamboo update. Very happy. I voted with my dollars, and I couldn't be happier with it. You are entitled to LOL, sir. You did tell me so, and you are correct. And the thing that is most encouraging about the bamboo, that's not why you're here. Okay, I'll let it go. The thing that encouraged me most about the bamboo was the Discord server, which I knew nothing about until my buddy Bill, who you met in the last video, told me about it. And it's a vigorous community of bamboo owners and the company all in this Discord server, and now I believe. So that's I'm happy with it. Wes, I don't know what to tell you. I'm happy to help you when I get back to home base. I really am. But I don't know why generic PETG should be missing. Let's do a live meeting sometime, maybe even late tonight. Okay, I'll give you a hand with that. I've been very happy with it. One weird thing that started happening, which I haven't debugged, and this is not throwing any shade on bamboo at all, is when I first got the printer, started using the Handy app and stuff, I would get these notifications when my print was done. And they seem to have stopped, and I don't understand why. So that's a problem I've got to solve. If that rings a bell for anybody, let me know. But we'll sort that out. I have to get that back because that's a major feature, and I must have done something stupid to cause that to stop working. But yeah, so if you're a machinist and you have ignored the whole 3D printing thing, even though there's G-code in it, you might want to reconsider, and especially with this one, because it's about as close to, buying a VMC and just using it as you can get. I use PETG not because it's strong. Well, I'll talk about stronger in a minute. But yeah, the chemical resistance and the UV resistance. So when I first started using PETG, it was because I was making antenna parts that were going outside in the sunshine. So black PETG was my choice for that. PETG is less brittle than PLA. PLA will break and snap, and PETG. So I believe the yield strength of PETG is lower than PLA, but the ultimate strength of PETG is way higher than PLA. So if you put it under ridiculous stress, it will stretch, right? It'll give, but it's not going to snap. Whereas PLA will snap. Also, PLA simply, well, as you correctly point out, it's just not going to take the UV, and it's not going to take have the same chemical resistance. So that's why I use PETG. So Wes says, my notifications started after a couple of days. Maybe you got my notifications. We'll figure it out. That's just something silly, but I really want to get that back because that's part of my efficiency. I've started setting a timer. So I use this timer app on my phone, which I think is called Timer. And you could have a dozen timers, right? So when I start a 3D printer, it's always been my habit. I take the time that it's going to print, put it in the timers. I start the grinder on some long cycle. I take the time, I put it in my timers. So as the timers yell at me during the day, I run around and service all the tools. And I thought it was pretty neat that the printer was sending me a notification without having to set a timer. But that stopped working, so I'll figure it out. We'll get it going. So did that answer your question there, John? As to why I chose PETG? And it's been totally bulletproof as far as my applications. I am considering looking at. I haven't pulled the trigger on a spool yet, but PLA Pro and PLA Plus. There are some PLA configurations which are better, and I haven't looked at them yet, but they deserve a little bit of a look. I did get PLA with carbon fiber and PETG with carbon fiber from Bamboo, and we will be experimenting with that, but no experience yet. I also ordered a bunch of just different colors for PLA from Bamboo. I just want to see how their stuff works. All right. You guys are pretty quiet on the Discord server. That probably means Inspiration Metalworks isn't here. We're going to mark you down as absent. So let's see, what else is cooking in the shop? The pin, no progress this week on the pin project, except for some design work. How do you get on the Bamboo Discord? Rookie question. How did I get on the Bamboo Discord? I don't remember, but I bet if you search Google for Bamboo Discord, you'll find it. It is an open to the public server. That's all I can tell you. PLA Plus sounds like a subscription service. Yeah, I know. It might be. Actually, Amazon will be happy to send you a subscription service of 3D filament. Ask me how I know. They've offered it to me about 200 times. Like, nah, I'm pretty good at ordering things. Thanks. By the way, can I get a video and audio report? The throughput has actually improved a little bit since the beginning of this broadcast, so I'm pretty encouraged, and nobody's complained, so it's probably working pretty good. So the pins project for the Benelli. So when we last met our heroes, the Benelli refers to a Benelli standard pistol. So Benelli is known for their shotguns and very unknown for its Olympic style standard pistols. However, when I was on the team and I was shooting international at MIT and afterwards, Benelli pistols started showing up, and they were really good. They were really nice. So the team has had, I guess for the last decade or so, has had Benelli standard pistols. And the problem is that the firing pins were breaking. So I was approached by one of my fellow alums to see if we can't help solve this problem. And he's another engineer, really good one, another 3D printer guy, and another machinist. So we started brainstorming about it, and we decided to make new pins out of S7, which is a shock-resisting tool steel. So we've gotten up to the point of making the blanks. You could put an asterisk on that. We'll revisit that idea. Making the blanks for the pins and heat treating them, and getting very good success in heat treating the S7. However, light dawned on Marblehead. I was going to finish them in the grinder, and these things are 2 inches long and about 1/8 of an inch in diameter, and grinding that is not trivial. So that's been a lesson for me. So in talking to Robin and others, Aaron Walla, and probably a couple other people I'm not remembering right now, there was this concept of putting a support under the pin for grinding so it wouldn't chatter. So the pin wants to vibrate. It's got a resonance. And by my ear, that resonant frequency is a little lower, not much lower, than the frequency of the wheel going around. So basically everything's in the same ballpark, and sure enough, when you get to the end of the pin with the grinder in the rotary fixture, it starts making it sing. So Robin and I talked about a design for a support, a follower support, that would have some damping in it. And his idea of damping was a grease that would provide a shear force damping. So, okay, the tolerances are normal tolerances. I'm going a little overboard because that's what I do. I go overboard. And the main reason for grinding it is that we want to finish the pins in their hardened condition. And if you think grinding them is hard, wait till you try hard turning them in that configuration. So we're not grinding. We're grinding because it's a very low pressure operation, and we're grinding because we want to finish the hardened material. It's not super hard, but it's I think we measured Rockwell 55 is what we're working at. Hey, Rob Renz is here. Hey, Robin. I mentioned your name and you showed up. So Robin and I talked about a damper, and Robin talked about a using grease in a pivot as a shear force to provide damping, and that's damping in this finger, which is going to lift the end of the pin. So I'm working on a design for yes. So Widget Works says, why don't you try to make the support pinch the pin? So a very good way to do it is to support it on essentially on centers, right? And I think that's what you're talking about. Oh, you might be talking about pinch the pin this way. That's all possibilities. I don't know yet. I'm working on a design. I'm going to try a design. I'm going to build it, try it, and see if it fails or succeeds. This is how we do it. The design I'm trying is going to be a follower, but it's going to use magnetic damping. And Robin and I didn't have time to get into the depths of it, but magnetic damping is the kind of damping that you would use in a 3-beam balance. At the end of the balance, you'd have a slot and a piece of aluminum on the end of the arm, and this U-shaped part would have a magnet. And yes, just make a centerless grinder. I know. There's reasons we're not doing that. So if you take a piece of aluminum, which is non-magnetic, and you swipe it past a magnet, okay, it experiences a force proportional to the velocity. A force proportional to velocity is the definition of damping, okay? It also is proportional to the strength of the magnetic field and the conductivity of the metal. So if you make that damper with a certain magnetic field and you make it out of aluminum, it'll work better if you make it out of copper. It'll work even better if you make it out of silver. It'll work even better if you make it a superconductor. And if you go on the internet and you do magnetic damping superconductor, there's all sorts of cool videos that will demonstrate that. Of course, we're not going to use a superconductor. So another thing you'll find on the YouTubes is dropping a strong magnet down a copper water pipe and how it goes very slowly. It's the exact same effect, okay? So I'm working on that design, which will be a follower on a pivot where the damping is provided by magnetic damping and a piece of copper. And the reason I'm using copper is because I have copper on the shelf. And we'll see how it goes. So I don't have a perfect answer. Now, the real benefit of this whole project is that it looks like an ejector pin from injection molding plastic technology. So there's all sorts of people that grind pins all day long, and this is an extension. I'm learning from that body of knowledge. I do not have the answers, but I sure am going to do some experiments, and I'm going to listen to what those that have gone before me have done. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. And yeah, I've thought about, if you just support the pin from the bottom, that's one thing. If you support it in a V-notch, that's another thing. If you support it in a U-notch, that's roughly the size of the pin, that's another thing. So there's it's like little details here. But if all I can do is end up with a grind that has no chatter in it and is on size, we're done. That's what we're looking to do. Now, remember the asterisk I set about 10 minutes ago? I could redesign the process for making these pins to hold it between centers and all these problems go away. There's reasons I'm not doing that. Um, and one of them is education. It's like, no, I want to solve this problem. I want to get this sorted out. So we're having fun. And maybe we'll all learn something from my mistakes. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, we're 20 minutes after the hour. I can report that it's getting warmer outside. I actually turned the air conditioning up a little bit in the vehicle. I can also report that, let's see, how's our battery doing? We are at 97% charge. Isn't that crazy? So, no big deal there. And we still have snacks. So we're doing fine. All right, it's time for your questions. If you guys have any questions or other topics you want to address in our last 9 minutes, fire it up. And we're ready for that. I'm looking around for something here in my cabin. I got my lunch. So, what is this? We started today at 2. I'm sorry. 2:30. We're coming up on 3:30. Is that a better time than 1 p.m. or a worse time than 1 p.m.? I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Better. Yeah, Rob Wren says better. I had a suspicion that you were going to say that. I think you free up. You free up for this time slot. We may move it to this. I don't see a reason not to. And if some people think it's better, then it's better. We'll do it. We'll do it now. Also, a shout out to everybody who consumes this content on the podcast feed. That has gone really well, and I'm getting really, really good feedback because people like to pop the earbuds in and operate machines, and they could listen to this. We will continue with the podcast feed, and in fact, this podcast should have excellent audio, even though our video is way below standards. All right. John says, been enjoying the past grinding talk on PFG.Live, both Okamoto and Precision Matthews. I'm sorry, Parker Majestic. Oh, Precision Matthews. Can we? The editor will just take that out. I suspect we'll end up with one soon, hence the binge. Well, I am happy to talk to you more about my experience with the Okamoto, John. And Adam Demuth is, of course, the expert on the Parker Majestic. I know. Oh, gosh. Listen, I haven't had my lunch yet. My lunch is sitting right here. Okay, that's dedication. Meanwhile, okay, so the story is, why am I sitting in the middle of the woods? My son is a counselor at camp this year. And this week is training for counselors. But there's no campers. Well, because there's no campers, there's no buses. And because there's no buses, he has no way to get here. And he's not driving yet. So Uber Dad said that he would take care of him. So I'm all week I'm spending here, spending time here, and I'll be in the truck. I'll be doing work. I've got, obviously the computer. This is working out spectacularly well, and all week I'll be here at camp, and this would have been even better at the end of the week because I would have figured out all the details of setting up in the truck and getting the hotspot working and what video bandwidth we could run. For you nerds out there, we started at about 80% or 80+% dropped packets, We're down to 67% dropped packets. And I'm going to have to work on that. And that's 30 frames a second of 1280 pixels, lower than usual. Have my Chipload says, did I bring my Bamboo Lab printer? No, I did not bring my printer with me. But I thought about it because I could have that printer sitting right here printing. That's the amazing thing about the Lightning is that there's in fact, I'm plugged into an electric outlet in the front. That's got my laptop charger. I've got an electric outlet in the back. That's got my phone charger. In the bed of the truck, I have a 220 volt, 30 amp twist lock outlet. I could bring my Sharp. Not quite. Nah, not quite. But I could. Yeah, it's amazing. I have plenty of. I could weld. I could weld out of the back of the truck, plug in and go. No issues. Isn't that nuts? And I am pleasantly surprised that we used up driving here today and sitting here with the the system running and my air conditioner running and the computers running, and we've only used 4% of available power. Widgetwork says, I'm looking into a pretty big Okamoto to grind very long tapered shim, going from about 1.5 to 4 millimeter thick, and no one seems to make a 5-foot long sign magnet. You can make one. How long? 1.5 meter. Well, you have yourself a project, don't you? I bet you Robin can help you figure that out. 1.5 meter long. Wow. Well, if you're going to try to do that in one go, yes, you're going to have a very big grinder. But the Okamoto quality has been just wonderful. No complaints at all. The only thing I don't like about the Okamoto, I've said this before, is that the control is, from a language point of view, is not ready. I mean, it's hard to understand. But once you understand it, this thing is making me, hang on, I'm trying to read what Robin said. Here we go. You don't need a sign table with a CNC grinder. So, yeah, that means, of course, you have to get a ball screw on your table drive. So when I bought my grinder, there were two options. I can get a ball screw or the hydraulic drive. And the ball screw added $12,000 to the price tag. For the work that I'm doing, I elected to go with hydraulics. Adam Demuth got the ball screw. So if you did have the ball screw, I would agree with Robin. That thing you don't need the sign table at all. Wouldn't that be neat? I just want to see the 1.5 meter chuck. Let's see, that's a big chuck. By 200 millimeters. That's amazing. Yeah, if you did that with a ball screw on your table, not only don't you need a sign table, you could also just dial in whatever wedge you want. Pick your taper and go, which is probably pretty handy. John says get 4 smaller chucks. That's true. You still need a table. Yeah, that's a big machine. It's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to hearing how you solve that problem, sir. All right. Anything else? The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn, if offered. So I miss my bigger screen. I miss my bandwidth. But this seems to work. 2 or 3 trucks come with the machine. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing which machine you settle on, and we'll have to learn about it. Anyway, last chance for questions or topics. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to have a sip of tea. All right, this has been a crazy experience from the wilds of New Hampshire. PFG.Live mobile is now a thing. I will be back in the office for next Sunday, but during the week I'll pop up variously on the Discord server and maybe here with a random live, and we can continue the fun now that I at least have a data point to work with. So have yourself an awesome rest of your Sunday. Thanks for everybody checking in. Robin, nice to see you. And I kind of suspected we were on the good side of your schedule, so we might move the time. If you have feedback about moving the time of PFG.Live to something like this, 2:30, let me know, positive or negative. Drop me an email, send me a DM, put it in the Discord server, and any or all of the above. Joel, we'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. And yeah, go have some fun in the shop. I spent 11 hours in the shop yesterday getting stones done. Not done, but getting progress on stones because I'm not going to be in the shop today. All right, guys, from the wilds of New Hampshire, best wishes. We'll see you next week.